Hello, hello. Welcome back to Let's Talk Entertainment News. It looks like Steven Soderbergh is once again talking about doing that sequel to his 2011 thriller Contagion. We're going to take a look at that in just a moment. But before we do, I just wanted to take this moment to thank you for helping us reach 5,000 subscribers. We reached that goal last month. We'd hoped to reach it a little bit earlier, but nonetheless, in early 2025, we hit 5,000 subscribers. We're now setting at 5,030. So thank you. And, we're going to set a new goal very, very shortly. Probably won't be a subscriber goal, but please stand by for that. We'll let you know what goal we are going to tackle next time. But here we go then. What did Steven Soderbergh say about Contagion 2? I got a project in development that Scott Burns is working with me on that's a kind of philosophical sequel to Contagion, but in a different context. You'll kind of look at the two of them as kind of paired, but very different hair colors. So Scott and I have been talking about it. So what's the next iteration of Contagion type story? We have been working on that. Why we should probably hotfoot it a little bit. When asked by Variety if the Contagion 2 project is still happening, Soderbergh said, "We've talked about it. It would have to be about something new, but also something that's plausible. Part of the reason people were able to find a resonance in that movie when it opened, and then 10 years later when the pandemic happened, was that it was rooted in reality. We've got to find a new gimmick, but it's got to be something that people go, oh, that could happen." When asked if it would be about another pandemic or public health crisis, Soderbergh responded, "Maybe. It would need to be something that's going on right now that just needs a tiny little shove to turn into a huge thing. To me, Contagion was a horror movie, so the trick would be, can you find something as scary that's real? There's certainly a case to be made, especially in the West, for the long-term effects environmentally of what we eat, what we breathe, as well as known. We have plastic in our blood now. It's in our brains. This is a new thing that's got to have some pretty serious effect. There's lots of possibilities." All right, so, generally speaking, I would say that Contagion is not the type of film that really needs a sequel, but if you're going to do it, I like this concept of it being a philosophical sequel, not necessarily just to reiterate or trying to one-up what he did in the first film. It wouldn't necessarily have to be a pandemic, but I think you could do one about other issues surrounding pandemics and public health. And maybe not get to the point where you actually have the pandemic, but perhaps you have a new or rising threat, something like avian flu, maybe the return of measles. And then you go on about the fact that, especially since the pandemic, there's been a lot of turmoil in the information and the misinformation, people trying to sell false cures, people using their platforms to sort of disseminate incorrect information, and then this is how quickly we forget. And basically, the idea that I would have is the idea that years after the pandemic of the first film, they could be on the verge of another such incident, but can they stop it? Or will they be so set back by sort of the way people now feel about what happened in their past that they're able to, it seems like it should be a no-brainer that people should be afraid of allowing such a thing to happen again, but there's so much misinformation that they could also come to the verge of, say, you have this little outbreak somewhere else, and will it be allowed to make the jump into the Western world or not? I think you could do something with that. I think you could make this film highly political, highly based around, the internet and misinformation and the podcasting world and all of that. You can have these layers. On one layer can be government. On the other layer, it can be these sort of, private influencer press people who are spreading their misinformation and just sort of the rising fear in the public at large and what you learn from whichever information bubble you're in. I think there's a lot of possibilities like that. It wouldn't necessarily have to be to the extent where there was the huge outbreak, but it could come down to sort of them preventing a actual outbreak happening in the last seconds of the movie. I think if anybody could pull such a thing off, it'd be Soderbergh. He has such a style to his works. With the Ocean's films that he did, it was sort of swagger, and it's very similar to that in Contagion, but of course in a much darker tone without the jokes. So I think there's something that can be done with this where almost like a spy thriller or something like The Post or one of these sort of very, very talky, very adult, very tense sort of political thrillers. I think you could do something with that. So that's what I'm thinking. But what are you thinking? Would you be up for a Contagion 2, even if it's not really about a contagion? Let us know in the comment section below, and I will see you again very soon. See you later.